Hey y'all, it's Kim. I know it's been several days, but I've just been busy with stuff. And anyway, it's just great to be back on here to make fun of these lefties. Oh my goodness. So I was listening to Greg Gutfeld on Fox this morning. I mean, I know it's probably from yesterday's show, but basically, he said something along the lines of at this point, Trump is uncovering and showing basically like how we can get the left to approve all kinds of stuff like men and women's sports. They're defending China on the on the terror thing. I mean, what in the hell is going on with these people? They're approving of anything just to be in opposition of Trump. And so I just thought that was interesting that he put it that way. That we're basically Trump is making them approve of all kinds of weird stuff, like the gang members that were deported. They want them to be sent back here. I mean, it's just like, are these people like totally stupid, or they just that deranged in their thinking? They're, anything that's against Trump, they're gonna approve of it just because he's the opposite of it. I mean, how dumb. Anyway, let's watch lefties losing it. Oh my goodness, you guys. you know, this show just makes my day because it's just showing how ridiculous these people are. But anyway, let me go ahead and start playing this. Miss Rita's got, I'm sure, it says Joy Behar goes weapons grade crazy. I mean, they're not irrational people anyway. But anyway, let's go ahead and start this.
It's time for lefties losing it, and we've avoided them all week, but alas, I can no longer ignore the weapon grade lunacy of The View. The ladies have had another bad week. Well, there are no good weeks on The View, just differing levels of misery and madness. Let's hear from Joy Behar, who thinks Donald Trump is trying to destroy the country or he is trying to enrich his mates.
He's trying to destroy the country. Now, why is he doing that? Just as a person in the audience, like watching this. Yeah. So there's a couple of theories.
Yes,
first of all, if he tanks the entire what do you call
economy,
it? The stock market, that all his billionaire friends can swoop in and buy everything low. That's not an original idea. That's Hakeem Jeffries said that.
Genius analysis there, Joy. You really are a rare intellect. I mean, the people who lost the most money when the stock market dived were the elite, the richest. But let's hear more of this cunning examination.
Today on Truth Social, Trump wrote, a great time to buy.
Yes, he did. And you were free to follow that sage advice, Joy. Plenty of folks did. Plenty of folks didn't panic and held on to their investments. And yes, the markets had a bumper day. The SP 500 soared 9.5%, its biggest gain since 2008, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average jumped up 7.9%. How does that go with your analysis of Trump wanting to destroy America? Or this next bit of lunatic supposition?
People are starting to get mad.
Well, that's good. Yeah. You want them to get mad.
But how mad will people get, and how broke will people get, and how many jobs will be lost? And then he can say, well, there's too much chaos, and now we're going to have martial law in this country, and he becomes a dictator. I mean, I don't know. That may be out of the bounds.
Anything is possible.
But it's possible.
Yeah.
So as somebody watching the news, that's what I see.
You know, if you've got good friends around you, they are honest with you when you go off the rails. They don't feed your paranoid delusions. It's clear that Whoopi Goldberg is not a good friend to Joy because she encouraged that latest bout of crazy. She believes Donald Trump wants to crash the market so people go nuts and then he can institute martial law. Okay. I'll tell you who else has had a rough week. It's the worst vice presidential candidate in history, Tim Walz, aka Tampon Tim, a name he earned for putting tampons in boys' restrooms in schools across the state. Well, here he is in the Minnesota capital being booed by veterans, and for good reason, because Tampon Tim's other nickname is Stolen Valor Walz.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear the shouts of coward there? Let's hear from Tim in front of a far friendlier crowd here. He claims that we should celebrate success, but then he says we should demonize Elon Musk.
I think Democrats supporting families, supporting the working class, supporting unions, but I think we have to separate and have a message here. It's okay in America to be successful. What we should demonize is people like Elon Musk and those people that do that. And that's different.
Yep, try to make sense of that. You know what? Tampon Team is going to be extra depressed today because Tesla shares are soaring. Despite the unhinged, violent attacks we've seen, attacks that Democrats refuse to condemn, here is Chuck Schumer.
What's your opinion of the violence against Tesla, their products? What are your thoughts on that? Do you denounce the violence against Tesla products and dealerships and cars in the streets?
I can't talk about Tesla, but Elon Musk is a disaster for America, and America knows it. Look at Wisconsin.
What? Now, proving that misery loves company, let's check in with the hideous propagandist, George Conway. Remember when he was feeling joyful and gleeful? He was emboldened, defaming Donald Trump, believing that these sham trials were going to make Donald Trump unelectable?
He's a deeply disturbed, a deeply morally bereft human being who has no conscience, has no morality, has no empathy, has no remorse, and is sadistic.
Oh, those were the days for George, but those heady, delusional days are well and truly over. Watch this 30-second compilation of George crying like a little girl. You're welcome.
I'm going to get moist-eyed here, again. So whatever it is that these people seem to be, and I went so far actually yesterday to Arnold the Border. That also was very moving because something people want, and I wanted, and us. We're all in this together.
No, we're not. Y'all are on the crazy train. We're not on that same crazy train.
And daughters of Judge Rifkin to get to
And to another miserable aging dolt, here is techno dude Moby, who seems to think billionaire Donald Trump is really, really bad at business. He also seems to think that Trump supporters have regrets. Who's going to break it to him?
So, for the people who voted for Trump or have supported Trump, can you finally just admit you were wrong? Trump has spent his entire life bankrupting businesses, and now, surprise, surprise, he's bankrupting the United States. So look, we can move on, but if you supported Trump or voted for him, just please, finally, now, just admit you were wrong.
Now, let's end with more weapon-grade crazy from a host view. Sunny Hostin shows she can be just as irrational and race-obsessed away from the View desk as she is on it. Here she argues that many blacks and women will not be able to participate in the democratic process if we have voter ID laws.
Oh my gosh.
Don't have cars, don't have driver's licenses. So it's sort of a vestige of, I think, post-slavery laws where they...
I mean, I showed y'all a video the other day of these white liberals on college campuses saying that blacks don't have, or black people don't have driver's licenses and they can't get access to the DMV and all this other stuff. And then the same guy, I think it was Ami Horowitz, the guy that's on Lefties Losing It, he actually went into the black community and they said, no, we know exactly where the DMV is. We have driver's licenses. We know how to get a hold of a driver's license. This is so stupid. This lady is a complete, utter moron. Do not listen to these fools on this show. This lady's supposed to be an attorney. She's got to be the dumbest damn attorney I've ever seen. I don't understand how somebody can have an intellect to pass the bar exam, but you can't figure out that what you're saying is ultimately racist against your own people. You're degrading your own people. What the hell is wrong with these people? I don't understand it. How freaking dumb and ignorant, like a damn ignoramus, that you would think that black people, because they know they have to have a driver's license to go to the bank, to just do anything at this point. You have to have it to drive a car. Duh. You know, you have to have some type of ID just to walk around. I mean, you're supposed to carry something with you. So it's so stupid that these people say this, that it's racist to have voter ID. No, it's racist for you to open your freaking mouth and lie and say that somebody doesn't have a damn driver's license because they can't get a hold of it. Are you stupid? Like, seriously stupid. You have to have a driver's license for everything else, or at least some kind of government issued ID. You can't just walk around life with no identification. Because if a police officer asks you for it, you have to give it to him. Duh. What a dumbass. I'm sorry. This lady, I just can't with these freaking Democrats. Use your damn brain. Use it. I know it's like a bunch of ramen noodles that's been soaking wet up there, but damn, you can't be that freaking dumb if you're supposed to be an attorney. Come on now. Don't be that freaking disingenuous. You're lying to your people, like propagandizing. I mean, that's some straight up gaslighting. These people have ID. You know damn well they have ID of some sort to show it. She can just shut her stupid, ugly mouth. Ugh.
Where Black people had to prove their right to vote, and oftentimes they couldn't vote because they couldn't pass some crazy test or they didn't have the appropriate ID. It also affects women that are married. Maybe your passport reflects something that's different on your birth certificate or on your driver's license. So really, the bottom line is voter suppression, and I agree with him 100%. It's a brilliant notion that less voter ID laws allows more people to vote.
Only problem,
More
Sonny, is that we don't
that
want
shouldn't be
more
voting.
people who are not eligible to vote. And how bigoted of you to suggest that Black folk and women don't have IDs. That's what they mean by the bigotry of low expectations.
Yeah.
The US-China trade war is well and truly underway, with the Trump administration determined to bring the CCP into line. And though much of the corporate sector is thinking in the short term and worried about daily share market fluctuations, there are business leaders who want China to pay. Here is Kevin O'Leary on CNN.
104% tariffs on China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, sell it back here. Never has an administration
400% tariff.
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. It's just not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese.
O'Leary understands what Trump understands, indeed what Trump has been saying since the 1980s and what he campaigned on. None of this should be a surprise. Tariffs are a powerful tool, and when it comes to China, it's time to make them pay.
You may not like his style or his rhetoric. Finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. She can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Joining me now is Newsweek Senior Editor-at-Large and Article 3 Project Senior Counsel Josh Hammer. Josh, China does steal IP, it cheats, it acts in bad faith, it uses economic coercion, and no other economy in the world but America is powerful enough to take them on.
Rita, you nailed it when you said that Donald Trump has been talking about this issue since the 1980s. He has been remarkably consistent on this issue for longer, quite literally, than I have been alive, since his very earliest days in the New York City media scene, going back to the Oprah Winfrey Show and all the New York City tabloids. He has always been a class traitor, is the phrase that I like to use. He has always been a heterodox thinker among his class, his economic milieu of ultra millionaires and billionaires, pretty much all of whom supported China's ascension to the World Trade Organization. Exactly what Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary was just talking about there in that clip there. The billionaires all thought that China being part of the global economy, you try to westernize them, all these various shibboleths and platitudes, such as this notion that economic liberalization will help lead to political liberalization. Well, how the heck is that working out?
Yes.
I mean, we saw what happened in China during the COVID-19. It's not exactly a politically liberalized country there. It's an authoritarian country in every which way of the term. So Donald Trump, again, now in his second term, has the opportunity to actually act on his 4.5-5-decade-long, sincerely, consistently held views when it comes to tariffs and trade with China. And thank God he's doing it. He became the first president in his first term. Just go back then, he was the first president since Richard Nixon went to visit Chairman Mao Zedong in Beijing back in the early 1970s. He was the first president to try to reorient U.S.-China relations. He was very successful. It was a very underappreciated part of his first term in office. Now he's just trying to finish what he already started. Frankly, he's trying to finish what he started talking about, again, 5 decades ago or so. I'm all in for the trade war with China. Reasonable minds can vary, I think, on perhaps some of the other tariffs in other countries there, but the China stuff, I am all freaking in. Rita, I think the American people are too.
You are so right also about the economic liberation was supposed to lead to political liberation. That was the lie we were all sold. We were told that this was going to help China become a great democracy. And of course, none of that has happened, and they have just extended their influence throughout the world. Now, much of the media is presenting Donald Trump's latest move as a capitulation, but White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she pushed back on that narrative.
Many of you in the media clearly missed the art of the deal. You clearly failed to see what President Trump is doing here. You tried to say that the rest of the world would be moved closer to China when in fact we've seen the opposite effect. The entire world is calling the United States of America not China because they need our markets, they need our consumers, and they need this president in the Oval Office to talk to them.
And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says this was always the strategy.
This was his strategy all along, and that, you might even say that he goaded China into a bad position. They responded. They have shown themselves to the world to be the bad actors, and we are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate, and things will turn out well.
Josh, how do you see it? Did Donald Trump react when he saw rates on 10-year Treasury bonds falling and he changed course, or was this always part of the play?
Well, it's very hard to say, and his administration is very divided, even to an extent, on the tariffs. I mean, we've seen Elon Musk is using some, shall we say, choice verbiage to talk about Peter Navarro, who's the pro-tariff, pro-industrial policy economic advisor to President Trump. So, even his own cabinet is divided. Scott Bessent, who now is kind of saying a lot of this, apparently behind closed doors, he was actually a bit of a skeptic himself. But again, Donald Trump really does believe in tariffs. But here's what Donald Trump also believes in. He also believes in taking a very strong negotiating tactic and then forcing the other side to the table. I think back to his comments just 2 months ago at the White House talking about how he thinks the United States might take over Gaza one day. Does he actually think that the United States is going to take over Gaza? Maybe, but maybe not. That's another example. It's a very, very strong opening position, just trying to bring other people to the table. It really is just the art of the deal. I mean, this is how deals get made. You take a very strong opening position. You basically scare the bejesus out of your opponent there. It kind of helps also when you're perceived as a little bit of a madman. I mean, Richard Nixon, back when he was president, they called this the madman theory of foreign policy. No one knew what the heck Richard Nixon was going to say or do on the world stage. Very similar to Donald Trump nowadays, actually, as well there. So I'm not entirely sure exactly if they played this out according to all the details there, but I think at this current juncture, at this exact time there, America is looking a lot better than it was a week and a half ago. And frankly, the people who kind of sold all their stocks after that big calamitous drop probably look a little foolish right now. They probably should have kept the money in the market, honestly.
Well, yeah, the hysteria was just absolutely crazy. And it must be said, too, that so many Americans really didn't care about those massive share market falls because, as we discussed earlier in the week, about 50% of Americans, the bottom 50%, hold only 1% of the share market value. So for them, this issue was far more about manufacturing jobs and seeing their towns and cities decimated than it was about whether a few billionaires lost some money. The markets have certainly soared in the past day. The S&P 500 added 9.5% in its biggest gain since 2008. The Dow Jones Industrial Average that jumped up 7.9%, and all of this has got Democrat Adam Schiff wondering about insider trading.
Oh, good
I've been
Lord.
writing to the White House to demand who knew in advance that the president was going to once again flip-flop on tariffs, and are people cashing in?
Now he cares about insider trading.
Yeah, for real.
But Josh, didn't Donald Trump post a message hours before this latest announcement telling everyone it's a great time to buy? I mean, really, what investigation is needed? What's Adam Schiff going to find out?
I have no idea what Shifty Adam Schiff thinks he's going to find out on this one. I mean, as the screenshot that you just shared shows, Donald Trump was basically telling the world, like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, this is going to be a very good day.
I mean, how stupid is that, though, for real? Because, like, I mean, all he's saying is a good time to buy. He's not telling you specific stocks to invest in. And if you're taking financial advice from somebody that's not an actual stock trader, like a broker in stocks who's never sat for the series, what is it, series 63 or 7? I can't remember which ones it is, but I've looked into it before. If you're taking it financial advice, even if you're taking it from a broker, just know that past, rebounds in the stock markets not going to make a difference for the future. It fluctuates too much. There's too much buying, selling, people shorting stocks. I mean, people panicking, selling everything out. Yeah. So yes, just these people need to stop. They're just mad that some of their strategies are just not working. They have no messaging, so all they can do is just attack Trump. Anyway.
By the way, it was very easy to see this coming. I mean, at least in my circles here in America, most of us thought that something like this was going to happen at some point this week. I think a lot of people thought that this was not necessarily going to continue at that rapid pace, this kind of bold charging right out of the gate, this style for the next 2-3 months. I mean, something clearly had to change. Again, there were a lot of signs in this. Even Donald Trump's cabinet was not exactly thoroughly pleased on the same page there. So we knew that something was about to change. And I mean, as far as Adam Schiff, it's very hard to take this guy seriously. I mean, only in the state of California can someone with Adam Schiff's track record when it comes to the Russia collusion, delusion, all the various hoaxes and just utter gobbledygook that he's been peddling for years and years. Only in the communist state of California could a hooligan like that ever be promoted from U.S. congressman to U.S. senator. I pity the people of California, frankly. It's people like Adam Schiff and Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris that just turned that state into mush. And now I guess we see a little bit of brain mush, as the case may be, from Shifty Adam Schiff.
I mean, for him to talk about insider trading in particular, given how well some of those Democrats have done in public office, went into public office with next to nothing and end up being extremely wealthy on fixed salaries. And you look at that and wonder how that happens. Now, I do love this story. Would love to get your take on this one. The New York Post reports the White House will no longer respond to reporters who list their preferred gender pronouns in their email signatures. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has said that she doesn't respond to journalists with these sorts of pronoun announcements because, and I quote, it shows they ignore scientific realities and therefore ignore facts. That's very excellent logic as far as I...
And the way I saw it is that that just proves that the person's irrational and therefore, like, not credible, whatever, excuse me. So it's not somebody you want to listen to or hear their questions because you know it's some kind of cuckoo. Anyway.
I can see, Josh.
I love it. I mean, I don't just like it. I love it. I mean, this is frankly very similar to what they did to the Associated Press when they basically kicked them out of a certain area of the White House briefing room for their inability, or the refusal, I should say, to adopt the nomenclature Gulf of America instead of Gulf of Mexico there. And look, there's a lot of people saying this is an attack on the freedom of the press. It's not an attack, okay? It's not an attack whatsoever, because these stupid gender pronoun journalists can still publish whatever idiocy they want to on their poorly read, poorly disseminated, and poorly rated blogs. They can write whatever they want. The point is, you're not going to get a question here. Guess what? You don't have a First Amendment right to have the White House press secretary ask you a question. I mean, that's an insane notion. Anyone arguing that should probably go find another job, because you're not very good at this whole journalism thing there. But this is what this White House is doing. They're not messing around basically any which way you look at it. When it comes to foreign policy, when it comes to the trade issue, obviously, as we've been discussing there.
And Trump said that he was getting rid of the DEI programs within the government. And also he said that from now on in the government, there are only two genders, male and female, period. We're not playing around with all this stuff anymore. There shouldn't be any reason for this lunacy to still be going around. Love it or hate it, that's where we're at. People are done with all this woke stuff. Hello, Snow White just freaking tanked. Like that stupid girl won't shut her mouth about politics. And so, yeah, that movie, even though it's a classic, you would expect it to make millions of dollars. Because it's the actress herself that won't shut up. Whatever.
Immigration, the ICE raids, on issue after issue after issue, going up to and including the literal way they actually run this White House. They're not messing around. They learned their lessons the first time around, Rita. The first Trump White House was beset by a lot of internal coups and dissidents and outside actors who were just trying to basically subvert the entire edifice. They've learned their lessons, though, and we see that very much now this time around.
We absolutely do. It seems like everyone is on the same page and fighting for the same side. Just one last thing. We're seeing this 90-day pause. Australia, I think, is in a fairly unique position. We have a trade deficit with the US. So we're one of the very few countries in the world that has a trade deficit. We don't impose tariffs. Do you see an advantageous outcome for us after these 90 days, where perhaps we might be exempted completely from any sort of tariff?
Rita, my unsolicited advice to the president and his economic advisors, a country like Australia, in my view, should not have any tariffs. I mean, Australia is an obvious ally of the United States. Australia is very useful to the United States, frankly, when it comes to containing America's own enemy, China. I'm thinking here of countries like Australia, Japan, Philippines, India. Those are really kind of the linchpins of America's broader strategy in that part of the world there. So, I mean, while I'm all in on the tariffs on China, I do have some questions on tariffs on countries that are not America's enemies, for instance, there. I mean, Canada would be one example here. I'm a little befuddled by some of the Canada stuff that I hear there. But I think I would personally like to see a world in which Australia and the United States do not have any tariffs, if there is free and fair trade between our two respective countries there, especially given the fact that, as you said, Australia, as a wealthy country, actually has a trade deficit with the United States, which it really is actually quite rare.
It is very rare indeed. Josh Hammer, thanks for your time.
Anyway, y'all, I just had to watch that. I haven't watched it in a few days, but the lefties are just not doing well, y'all. It doesn't look like it. I mean, anything that Trump is trying to do, they have to oppose it. Even if it's bad for America for them to oppose it, they're still going to do anything they can to oppose whatever Donald Trump's doing. It's just the craziest thing to watch all of this and listen to all these damn leftists. Oh my gosh, I've got so many videos from Instagram just from over the weekend that I'll probably put up some videos about. I mean, you just go through meme after meme after meme, a video after video after video. They're just out of their freaking gourd. Anyway, I'm going to move into the other room probably for the next few videos. I've also got to do page 8. Anyway, I've been dealing with some stuff here at the house. So, yeah, been a little busy this week. But I'll get some stuff put up. I'll keep y'all informed, whichever way that means. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Like, share, subscribe. Talk to y'all. Bye.